Welcome into episode 15 of Jacket Sports Weekly. Today we're covering men's and women's wrestling alongside men's and women's track and field, men's and women's basketball, and Brayden King will have your top 5 plays of January. Stick around for Jacket Sports Weekly.
Welcome to Jacket Sports Weekly, Waynesburg University's weekly sports show where we cover the best of the best in athletics. Our analysts discuss a multitude of highlight plays such as touchdown passes.
And Barber's going to throw again, one-on-one. Does he got it in him? That's a catch! Tyler Richmond with flags thrown everywhere makes the catch! Touchdown, Waynesburg!
And ones.
This was low, Waynesburg's going to get it! Suggs is going to pull away here, go for the layup, and it's going to fall in and one! PJ Suggs!
And home runs.
Higgins drives one to left field. The left fielder running back, and that ball is out of here. Grace Higgins.
Join us every Wednesday to see what's new in Waynesburg University athletics.
Welcome into Jacket Sports Weekly. We're kicking it off today with some men's and women's wrestling. Chase Maceiko alongside Wyatt Clatterbaugh. Wyatt, welcome in.
Thanks for having me. First time on the panel. I'm excited.
And Wyatt, there's really one main storyline when it comes to the men's wrestling team. Jesse Orban just picked up another PAC Wrestler of the Week. It's his third already this season. He's won 14 straight bouts. Are we on our way to seeing Orban win another PAC title this season?
I think so. He's one of the best wrestlers on this Waynesburg team at the 174-pound weight class. As you mentioned, already got his third PAC Player of the Week. Orban's current stat line, he's 21-2 overall. He is 10-0 in duels, 11-2 in tournaments, and is 6-1 pinned to winning by point ratio. So he's one of the more dominant wrestlers on this Waynesburg Yellow Jackets team. I think he's going to continue his dominance. They only have a couple matches left and meets left as well. So I think we will see him compete for another championship.
And then going into some more recent times, Waynesburg faces Teal in their final dual match of the season this week. What should Waynesburg fans be looking for heading into that match versus Teal?
Yeah, I think Waynesburg, obviously, you want to see Jesse Orban. You want to see how he does if he continues his momentum into Teal and if he can pick up another win consecutively. Austin Fleming, another guy who's been really dominant for this Waynesburg team at the heavyweight class. He just transferred in. He's only a junior, so it'll be exciting to see what he does. I think Rylan Parker is another sneaky guy at the 146-pound weight class that could kind of shock some people, get in there, wrestle it up, maybe not win, but definitely compete and be aggressive on the mat.
And then we're just a little over a week and a half out from the PAC wrestling tournament. What wrestlers should we be following for Waynesburg?
Well, we've talked about him a lot already, but obviously Jesse Orban at 174. Orban placed third last year. I know he wants to win it again, or placed third in the Nationals. Obviously won one last year. Another one I had was Rylan Parker. I already talked about him a little bit in the 146-pound weight class. I think he could make some noise. Austin Fleming, he's going to be one of those guys to really look out for in the heavyweight class as well. And then JT Hollyfield, he's been kind of under the radar, been battling some injuries here and there, stuff like that. But I think JT Hollyfield is another one of those guys that you could watch and you'll be like, wow, he's actually doing really, really well. It actually shocks me. And so those are the guys that I have really that Waynesburg fans should watch.
Awesome. And then moving over to the women's side of things, they just recently competed at the John Carroll Open. Wyatt, who stood out in the John Carroll Open?
Well, Ja'Kiah Matthews, who placed fourth at the 207-pound weight class and pinned her opponent in 17 seconds. Haley Rusano, a freshman, she was 1-1 on the day. She lost early in the first match, then got a 9-2 victory in her second match to kind of bounce back. She finished seventh, and then Anastasia Caridi had a 10-0 victory in the 124-pound weight class. So a lot of the young talent, a lot of the freshmen stepping up for this Waynesburg women's team.
Awesome. And then they have their last upcoming matchup in the Bobcat Open. What wrestlers should we be looking at for the Bobcat Open?
I'd say pretty much the same ones I just said. Ja'Kiah Matthews has been kind of finding her rhythm, been really getting into her own in the heavyweight. You could see her kind of making some noise. Anastasia Caridi, she's been one of the more dominant wrestlers for the Waynesburg women's team. She's 9-10 overall this season. And then Rusano, who I already talked about, she's 4-16 overall, but she has been battling. She takes a lot of her matches into the third period. So getting to see those girls just grind and fight it out till the last couple minutes is going to be really exciting to watch.
And then just as one last final prediction, out of all the wrestlers Waynesburg has, do you think any wrestlers end the PAC championship with some hardware?
I think Jesse Orban will definitely get some hardware. He's one of the best wrestlers in the PAC. He's the best wrestler in Waynesburg. On the men's side. For the women's side, I could see maybe Anastasia Caridi making some noise, Haley Rusano possibly as well, but those are mainly the three that I see, but I would not be shocked if Jesse Orban comes back with some hardware.
Well, that's going to do it for the men's and women's wrestling portion of Jacket Sports Weekly. Thanks to Wyatt for your insights and analysis, but we're going to head over to track and field with Ethan Spozarski. Welcome back into Jacket Sports Weekly. It's time to head over to men's and women's track and field. Chase Maceiko alongside Ethan Spozarski here with you. Ethan, welcome in.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
So, Ethan, getting started with the men's side of things, who stood out at the Wooski Invitational, which happened last weekend?
Well, luckily for the men's side, there was a lot of program notches, as in times that are now up in program history for Waynesburg. I mean, Jacob Harker finished 9th of 30 in the shot put. That's really no surprise. He kind of been doing that his entire collegiate career. His throw at 14.5 meters is best for 4th in program history. Michael Wines finished 9th in his long jump. It's 6.26 meters. That was 6th in program history. Ethan Wilson in his mile run was able to get 4 minutes and 36 seconds, almost 4:37. That's best for 7th in program history. And then Dagan Williams and Kyle Casella finishing 9th and 10th in the 400-meter race at about 54 seconds, about 54.5 seconds. So men's-wise, a lot of program notches to see that they're carrying that in from the years past or their times past that they put up.
Yeah, and then same question for the women's side of things. Who stood out at the Wooski Invitational on the women's side?
Well, a lot of them are, I mean, it's a plethora. It's track and field. It's not just certain track events either, which I know in the past we've seen. But, I mean, Ella Rochelle, pair of top 8 finishes this past weekend. She finished 6th in the 200th meter event with her time of 27.23 seconds. That's a 4th best in program history. She finished 8th in the 400 meters as well. Adrian Settle, a cross-country runner that we're able to see, really is continuing to make her name in long distance in track and field as she finished in her event with just over a minute in that time. Miracle Hershey, women's soccer player, we know she's incredibly fast, proving that again in the 60-meter race, had an 8.42 second time. Then in some of the other things like in long distance, Grace Tanksley and Erin Bleeville, they as well placed back-to-back in consecutive places in 2nd and 3rd in the 5,000-meter race. And then in shot put, you had 4 different people PR overall, with seeing that as well with Karina Deering, Kenzie Ammons, and then Gabrielle Chico placed in the top 15 in the shot put as well. So you're seeing everyone kind of down the line either break records, break their own personal records, or advance to where they were just a year ago. And to be about early on to nearing midway point of an indoor season, you've got to be very pleased with what you've seen from everyone across the board.
Yeah, and then moving on this weekend, we have the Bob Shannon Invitational. Both the men and women will be competing in it. So, Ethan, let's break it down. Starting with the men, who should we be looking out for in this invitational?
Well, I mean, I think we kind of listed a good bit of names that you always got to look out for. I think Jacob Parker is always going to be on your radar because whether it's indoor or outdoor season, the ability he has in shot put is phenomenal. He's just absolutely on a second level. He's competing with D2 talents of Slippery Rock and Mount Union, like in distance. Like he's up there with those guys. I think as well, Kyle Casella has always been a name that you're consistently reading in all the recaps or in the different kind of releases that Waynesburg has. He's always finishing atop there. I think overall, for the throwers, I think you just listed a few. I mean, Sebastian McRae and Liam Smith as well, a weight toss thrower and a shot put thrower. They as well got some more of those, like I said, personal bests from this past week. So I think for the men's side of things, there's just so many different people that are consistently doing it that I think anyone on any given day can really do better than what they had the meet before, because they practice 6 days a week. That's, first of all, incredible, because 6 a.m. practices, then you have 5 p.m. practices, and it alternates each day. A lot of these people are putting in that time and effort towards paying it off, and it's paying off and translating in meets.
Yeah, and moving over to the women's side of things, who really stands out to you for the Bobby Shannon Invitational on the women's side?
Well, I think right now, the biggest thing is going to be, I want to see exactly where we're going to see with Ella Rochelle, because it's only a matter of time. She's what Jacob Parker is to the men's team in the field events. She is to the track side of things for the women, because just a ticking time bomb of what's going to happen of success. Like, I think she's clearly shown that she's able to do that. I think without Meg Berry in for the women's throwing and the field events, that opens the door for a lot of the women's throwers. So there's just a plethora of different women that could come in here and open a whole new can of worms of who's going to be the future for the field events. Because as I talked about for the first segment we did a couple weeks ago, indoor and outdoor, it's really not. It's kind of one continuous season. It's not like that. One season happens, there's a long period of time. It is literally consecutive. It's basically one long season. So, and the PAC's also changed their format too in how they're going to be doing PAC championships. Everyone used to go. Now they're only doing top 24 throwers. And right now, Karina Deering and Gabrielle Chico right now sit as the 2 Waynesburg women's throwers. They're going to be able to do that. So I think that's something else worth to note. But I think really anyone can compete. And I think a lot of people have shown that clearly they're able to either get personal bests or program records. And we're only halfway through the season.
Awesome. Well, that's going to do it for the track and field section here on Jacket Sports Weekly. When we come back, Brayden King has your top 5 plays of January.
I'm working here. My bad.
Welcome back into Jacket Sports Weekly. I'm Brayden King, and it's time for your top 5 plays of January. Let's get right into it. Starting at number 5, we have men's basketball at Geneva. This Geneva player makes a move, tries to drive baseline, and Mikey Smith with a huge block sets up a fast break layup for Casey Kazee, and that would be the first points of a 62-43 win for Waynesburg. At number 4, it's women's basketball against Bethany. The handoff from Tori Wesolowski to Mia Henkins, who gets a step-back 3 and breaks the ankles of a Bethany player on the floor. Waynesburg would unfortunately lose 82-71. At number 3, women's basketball once again with 4 points from Kara McFadden on these back-to-back layups and a comeback win against Allegheny. She goes coast to coast from an uncontested layup, and then again a handoff from Moorbacher where she'll get into the lane and score once more. Waynesburg would win 69-68. At number 2, we have Austin Fleming with the escape and takedown against Bethany's Zach Knuff for a 4-1 victory. However, Waynesburg would fall 36-21. And your number 1 play of January. Callista Friday gets her 1,000th career point with this free throw in a 71-60 win at Franciscan. An incredible moment for Friday, eclipsing the 1,000 point mark, just the 14th player in Lady J history to accomplish that feat. On behalf of all of us here at Jacket Sports Weekly, congratulations, Callista. And on that note, that's going to do it for all your top 5 plays. We're going to wrap up the episode with Joe Chirillo to talk some Waynesburg basketball right here on JSW.
Welcome back into Jacket Sports Weekly. It's time to break down men's and women's basketball. Chase Maceiko alongside Joe Chirillo here joining us on the desk. Joe, welcome in.
Thank you very much. I'm excited to get talking to it.
Yeah, so starting off this past weekend, the men's basketball team really struggled on the rebounding department. They're out-rebounded by 30, 56 to 26. So my question is, what needs to change? Is it some players? Is it more of like a coaching philosophy? What do you think?
I mean, it's really hard to kind of narrow down. It really comes down to the fact that you got to mention it. Teal has been the worst team within the President's Athletic Conference for men's basketball over the past 2 years. And now you come into this game, you need a win. They've been on a losing streak. You need to get this win against Teal. And everyone's like, oh, yeah, we got it. It's in the bag. Oh, wait, they out-rebounded us by 30. And we lost because of that. So the rebounding really needs to be adjusted, and it needs to be addressed. So how do we go about that? Well, it's really a philosophy change. You need to understand that you don't have any bigs anymore. You had Jalen Goins. We've talked about it numerous times on the show and numerous times throughout the season that you had those guys. You had the bigs that you used to go and be able to count on. Now you're at a point where you're going to have to be starting 5 guards and be playing positionless games and constantly just be thrown around for offensively. Defensively, you just need to be confident in what you're doing. You need to be able to press on a guy whenever they're going up for a shot and be able to contend as best you can. When it comes offensively, you're going to need to dial in more on that side of it. You're going to have to be confident in those shots and make your shots multiple times throughout not only this game, but in past games, we've gone down to it where it's only a few seconds where we're up because it gets taken away just like that, and our guys aren't able to go in and get three-pointers like they should be.
Yeah, and you hit on it a little bit. The offensive side of the ball, Waynesburg has averaged just 66.9 points in PAC games this season. So my question is, what player or players need to wake up to really get this offense going?
A lot of the guys have started to do that. Casey Kazee has been one of those players that has been able to come in and play well against Westminster. He had 24 total points. And so a lot of guys have started to wake up a little bit later, but currently one guy that just isn't really doing much that did a lot last season was Jalen Goins. Right now, he was 2 for 11, 1 for 4, 0 for 6 on his field goal attempts just in these past 3 games. And he continues to have less points time after time. Only 3 times this season has he had points within the double digits. And the last time he did it was with 17 points back in December. And so now is the time where you really need to get those wins. You need to be getting points. You need to be doing that as much as possible. And in this case, it's really not a good look for them to have a lot of these guys that are starters to not be making as much points as they are. Jalen Goins, I feel, can really get to that point where he can get back on fire and be able to get more points, but also more rebounds. I think it needs to start with him.
And you just talked about all these senior players, these players who have been here, but with Waynesburg's struggles this season and the season winding down, playoff hopes, they're barely hanging on. Do you think we see any of these younger freshman, sophomore players get involved with the team, or do you think we continue with the players we already have?
Potentially. We have that JV roster kind of for a reason for that aspect, to have a lot of those freshmen and sophomore get that playing time to see how they're going to adjust to it. But I think it really mainly boils down to the fact that a lot of these seniors and juniors should be able to teach with these sophomores and freshmen, and you don't really need to rely on them getting game time necessarily. There are still a lot of juniors on this team that I would say put them in more. You could take out some other seniors like Grant Barnhart and Scott Billivis, and I still think be fine. Their shooting has not been on point this late in the season. So going into it, you can start some younger guys, but I wouldn't make that a priority. You still have an entire offseason that you can work with that for and go from there.
Yeah, and then moving over to the women's side of things, they held Teal to just 49 points on Saturday. Who stood out the most to you on the defensive side of the ball for the women?
Honestly, it was the entirety of the team. The rebounds were just phenomenal during that game, and we've talked about it, how for the men, they need to do more rebounding. They should take a page out of the women's book in this case. You had about 7 players total with different amounts of rebounds throughout that were more than 5. So in total, you had Miller and Ammons with 7 total for themselves. So that's 14 right there. That's already so many rebounds that we've seen. That's half of what the men had. And so you go over to 6. So 6 total rebounds with Friday Wazalowski and Justice, 5 for McFadden, 5 for Moorbacher, 3 for Henkins, 3 for Corley. That's a great number to have, especially in these kinds of games, is to have that many rebounds, because what do those rebounds do? Turn into points. You get those rebounds, you can control the pace, you can control the tempo that you want, go up, get an easy layup, maybe even shoot some threes, and they were able to do that in that Franciscan game. Lots of three-point shooting going on, and it really did hit for the women's team.
Yeah, and they're moving into one of the biggest conference matchups of the season tomorrow night when they travel to St. Vincent. Our women on a 3-game winning streak going up against St. Vincent, who sits at the top of the PAC South. So what are the keys for the Waynesburg University Yellow Jackets to win tomorrow night?
The hard part is, as you said, is that St. Vincent is currently top of the South. Not only are they top of the South, they're the best team within the President's Athletic Conference. They're 9-1. They're tied for first place right now, with Washington and Jefferson being at 9-1 as well. In this case, you were close with them in December. It was 75-73 for a loss that Waynesburg had here at home against St. Vincent. So it was only by 2. But after that, St. Vincent started to rocket up, and they have been phenomenal. In their past 5 games, they've won by 20 or more points. So you definitely need to take that into account when prepping for this game. Going into it, I really am still of the mind, in fact, that it's defensively that you need to shine in. You need to shine in getting those rebounds. Having rebounding numbers like we did this past week, I think will help them tremendously against St. Vincent. And again, just continuing to keep your own tempo and keeping your own pace. Being confident in the play that you're going to commit, and having Friday commanding the offense the way that she has been, continuing to have that confidence not only in yourself but in your teammates that are out on the court with you, I think is going to help a lot more in this case with St. Vincent. St. Vincent knows how to control the ball. They know how to control the game the way that they want. If you come in doing that as well, I think it'll throw off the Bearcats a lot. Could get a win for them.
Yeah, and my final question for you today, Joe, is there's only 6 games left in the schedule in the later portion of the season. What players have stood out the most to you when watching this women's basketball team this season?
We've already talked about it a little bit, but you definitely need to look at Calissa Friday being now a 1,000-point scorer for this team and the program in general. You're going to look to her a lot more for what are they going to be able to do with her going forward. She's gotten 1,000 points. She's still a senior, but does she want to continue that drive? Does she want to get to the playoffs? I think that's a question that you're going to have to ask later on as well. But you can also trust in a lot more of those juniors as well to have a drive. They're still going to come back for another year. So Mia Henkins, Kara McFadden are going to be ones to look out for, controlling the ball, controlling the tempo of this team if Friday's not out on the court, and just finding their rhythm that they're going to want. Once you find that, I think that they'll continue to rocket themselves like St. Vincent has, and continuing to just be a team. They've been able to do that well. I think that's one thing that the men's side haven't been able to do as well. It's just continuing to acknowledge, hey, we got all these players that continue to be amazing. We got a lot of bench players that can come off and get points for us. They did that in the past game, continue to do that. They'll excel in this final half of the season.
Well, thank you, Joe. That's going to do it for episode 15 here of Jacket Sports Weekly. Make sure you stay tuned on all of the Waynesburg social medias for more sports updates. We'll be back next week covering all of your Waynesburg sports.
This has been a production of Waynesburg Community Television.